Marcus Johnson was a man who had always prided himself on his resilience. At 35, he had endured challenges that would have broken many others. A former high school teacher turned freelance mechanic, he had learned early that life rarely went as planned. After the death of his wife, the mother of his 4-year-old son, Aiden, Marcus had taken on the role of both parent and provider with quiet determination. His days were a juggling act, working long hours to keep food on the table, helping Aiden with his preschool homework, and managing the household that had once belonged to a happy family of 3. Despite the hardships, Marcus had made a promise to himself and to his son. They would survive. They would do it together. On a rainy Thursday morning, the city seemed unusually gray. Rain streaked the windows of their small apartment, blurring the view of the bustling streets below. Marcus had just finished preparing breakfast pancakes for Aiden. His favorite tand was gathering the boys' things for preschool. But something was off. Aiden, usually full of energy and mischief, was pale and unusually quiet. "Daddy," Aiden said softly, his small voice barely audible over the sound of rain hitting the window. "My tummy hurts." Marcus knelt beside him, concern immediately washing over him, placed a hand on Aiden's forehead, and felt the unmistakable heat of a fever. "All right, buddy, we're going to the hospital," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. He knew that children often mirrored their parents' emotions, and he didn't want Aiden to be frightened. After calling his workplace to let them know he would be late, Marcus bundled Aiden into his old sedan and drove through the rain-soaked streets. Traffic crawled slowly, adding to his anxiety, but Marcus focused on comforting his son. He told Aiden silly stories about a little dragon who loved pancakes and hated rainy days. Slowly, Aiden's grip on his small stuffed bear loosened. As he began to listen, distracted from his discomfort, when they arrived at the hospital, Marcus quickly wheeled Aiden through the sliding glass doors. The fluorescent lights and antiseptic smell made Aiden cling tightly to his father, his tiny body trembling slightly. Marcus approached the reception desk, explaining Aiden's symptoms to the nurse. She guided them toward the pediatric wing where a doctor would see Aiden as soon as possible. They waited in the small examination room, the ticking clock echoing in the otherwise quiet space. Aiden sat on the edge of the examination table, his legs swinging nervously. Marcus rubbed his back gently, whispering reassuring words. A few minutes later, the door opened and a woman walked in. She wore a crisp, tailored suit that spoke of authority and confidence. Her hair was perfectly styled, and her presence seemed to fill the room instantly. Marcus glanced up, giving a polite nod. Aiden, however, froze. His eyes widened, and his small hand shot out to point at the woman. "That's Mommy," he said in a whisper, his voice filled with awe and certainty. Marcus froze. He looked at his son, then at the woman, and back again. Buddy," he started cautiously. "That's just But Aiden shook his head vigorously. "Mommy," he exclaimed again, more insistently this time. The woman's eyes softened. She glanced at Aiden, and then back at Marcus, a puzzled expression on her face. "Excuse me?" she asked gently. Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. He wasn't sure what to say. Aiden had never seen anyone like this woman before, and yet his son was adamant. I think he's confused," Marcus said finally, trying to mask his growing curiosity. The woman smiled faintly. "I don't think he is." She took a step closer to Aiden, crouching down to meet his gaze. "Hi, sweetheart. My name is Evelyn Carter. Did you just call me Mommy?" Aiden nodded emphatically. "Yes, you're my mommy." Marcus felt his heart rate spike. There was something in the way the woman looked at Aiden, a strange familiarity, a softness in her eyes that made him pause. He studied her closely, trying to reconcile the impossible. Evelyn Carter, he had heard the name before. She was a well-known billionaire CEO, the head of a major tech company, someone whose face often appeared in the news. This can't be real," Marcus muttered under his breath. Evelyn glanced at him, her expression shifting from curiosity to gentle realization. "Marcus?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. You know my name? Yes, she said softly, standing upright. She hesitated, then took a deep breath. Aiden is my son. Marcus felt as if the floor had dropped beneath him. He blinked rapidly, unable to comprehend the words. Your son. But, I thought, Evelyn's eyes filled with emotion. I didn't know he existed. I was young, and I thought I couldn't provide for him. I made a choice that I thought was best at the time. But now, seeing him here, I understand everything. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. All the late nights, all the struggles he had raised. This little boy alone, thinking he was doing it without any family support. And now, suddenly, the woman his son had called Mommy was standing in front of him, figure of wealth, power, and grace. Aiden, sensing the tension, tugged at Marcus's sleeve. Daddy. She's really my mommy, he said. His small face was lit up with excitement, completely unafraid of this strange, elegant woman who seemed to hold a mysterious connection to him. Evelyn knelt again and extended her arms. Can I hold you, Aiden? Aiden's eyes sparkled, and he ran into her arms without hesitation. Marcus watched in stunned silence as the boy hugged her tightly. There was a natural ease between them, an unspoken bond that defied logic. Marcus felt a mix of emotions, relief, curiosity, confusion, and something he couldn't quite name. I need to understand this, he said finally. Evelyn nodded. I understand. Let me explain. She gestured for Marcus to sit, and he did. Still clutching Aiden's small hand, Evelyn began to recount her story, her voice steady but tinged with regret. She had been just 22 when she discovered she was pregnant with Aiden at the time. She had been an ambitious young professional, determined to make her mark in the business world. She had loved Marcus deeply, but circumstances had forced her to make a difficult decision. She had thought it best to leave quietly, believing that Marcus would be a better father than she could be at the time. Marcus listened, astonished. Everything suddenly made sense. The timing, the sudden disappearance of Evelyn from their lives, and the absence of any other family support. He had assumed she had abandoned them, but now he realized it had been a decision born of love, not neglect. I can't believe this, Marcus said, his voice thick. All these years. You were out there and we didn't even know? Evelyn nodded. I know, and I'm so sorry, but I'm here now, and I want to be a part of his life if you'll let me. Marcus looked at Aiden, who was now giggling in Evelyn's arms. The boy had already bonded with her in a way that seemed instinctive, as if he had always known her. Marcus felt a warmth spread through him, a mixture of relief and hope. I think he deserves that, Marcus said finally, a small smile tugging at his lips. He deserves to know both of his parents. Evelyn smiled, tears welling in. Her eyes, thank you, Marcus. Now means more than you'll ever know. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Doctors examined Aiden and determined that he had a minor stomach infection. Nothing serious. Marcus and Evelyn shared stories about his early childhood, his first words, and his favorite games. They laughed, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes easily, as they navigated this new reality together. As the day drew to a close, Evelyn made Marcus an unexpected offer. I know you've worked so hard to raise Aiden on your own, she said. I want to help. Not to take anything away from you, but to make sure he has the best opportunities possible. We can do this together, parenting, supporting him, giving him the life he deserves. Marcus was touched, though wary. He had been so used to doing everything himself that the idea of help felt almost foreign. But seeing the genuine desire in Evelyn's eyes and the joy it brought Aiden, he knew this was a chance they couldn't pass up. Okay, Marcus said finally, his voice steady. Let's do this. Together. Over the next few weeks, their lives began to change in ways Marcus had never imagined. Evelyn introduced Aiden to experiences he had only dreamed of: visiting her office, meeting her colleagues, and attending children's events where he was treated like a little prince. Yet through it all, she respected Marcus's role in Aiden's life, ensuring that their partnership was one of cooperation and mutual respect, not rivalry. Marcus watched Aiden thrive, his son's laughter echoing through their home in a way that filled the gaps of years lost. And slowly he found himself feeling something he hadn't in a long time: hope. Hope that their small family, once fractured and uncertain, could now embrace a future full of love, stability, and possibility. One rainy evening, as Marcus tucked Aiden into bed, the boy looked up at him with a sleepy smile. "Daddy and Mommy?" "I love you both," he said, his tiny hands holding theirs. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. "We love you too, buddy. More than anything, Mare." And in that moment, Marcus realized that life, with all its unexpected twists and turns, had given them something extraordinary: a chance to heal, to grow, and to embrace a love that had been waiting for them all along, hidden in plain sight, revealed by the simple, undeniable truth in a child's voice: "That's Mommy."